Welcome to Momentum's virtual training series, where we invite expert facilitators to share their knowledge on topics that advance women in leadership.
Welcome. Today's content is going to be focused on emotional intelligence. When we were talking about who to invite to this, these two women were the first that came into my mind because I have interacted with both of them over the years, and I've seen how they have used their level of intelligence of working with women and men in every situation that encourages people to be more and to be at their very best. You can't be at your best if you don't even know who you are. And I've watched these two women not only exemplify it, but to coach it into other women, to other men at all ages, at all levels. You don't have to be a CEO to be good at this. You just need to be alive and breathing and want to make a difference. And so I want to start off allowing these two women. Dr. Powell, I want to start off with you. Please share a little bit about your background and why you've come to know and be a part of Momentum.
Yeah. Well, so my background is a clinical psychologist, and so I'm a trained doctoral level psychologist who spent most of my career working in healthcare settings, and specifically working with veterans who experienced all type of challenges, and often confided in me and really helping them to heal through some of their most difficult times in their entire lives. And so that's the background that I come from. And I also was a manager, people manager, and led programs and different trainings. And more recently I consider this my career pivot season. I've working mostly with corporations, corporate leaders, and nonprofit leaders as an executive coach and organizational consultant. And I was first introduced to Momentum. I attended some of the conferences that you're speaking of, and I'm excited about our upcoming conference coming up next month. And also served as a mentor for a few younger career individuals, and have really enjoyed all of the different things that Momentum has to offer. And I've also facilitated some of the programming that Momentum offers in the community.
I have appreciated your mentorship, by the way. She even did someone who's very dear to me, one of my daughters. So I appreciate you very much. So Kathy, share with everyone how you came to be a partner and just connected here with us at Momentum.
My story about Momentum, it came through the crux of a real crisis in my life. So back in 2018, I was getting laid off from my company. And so what was interesting is I had known about Momentum from afar off for many years because of my relationship with Andrea McCaskey. And so my background has always been that I've been around the corporate world. I mean, from UPS to back in the days, MCI, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, just Baptist Health System. I mean, so always been in the corporate world, and always knew of Momentum from afar off, and remembered from the founder of it, and just admiring her and Barbara Riddle, and just looking at Kathy Wright and so many phenomenal women like Kathy Sloss Jones. And I mean, just amazing, and admiring these women and seeing them have such a passion for women, even people like Suzanne Martin, just with LEI back in the day. But I had just been seeing Momentum, and Andrea has always been like a very dear sister friend to me. And she had began working with Momentum. And so I didn't ever feel qualified because I had always seen it as an executive level organization that developed women. So I never thought that I would actually be able to get a seat at the table or get that kind of development. But I was working with Baptist at the time, and I had a very strong advocate of Kate Darden, who was really, she was my leader at the time when I worked with Baptist, and Keith Parrott was the CEO of the health system. And she recommended me with the support of Teresa Schuffelberger and Belita Neal. And long story short is they all three supported it. And Keith was like, yeah, I don't know why we hadn't thought about Kathy. And so they ended recommending me. And so I got into one of the executive momentum women classes. What was ironic though is in 2018, what was happening is they were also restructuring, and we were actually about to merge with Tenet. And in August of that year, I was supposed to start Momentum in September to go to the retreat. In August, my leader at that time came in like around August the 23rd and told me that my job was being eliminated. I remember the exact place, the exact time.
Mhm.
She said that my job was being eliminated. And so I pulled out my notebook and I said, okay, now I knew in the back of my mind that I was supposed to start Momentum in September. And she told me that my last day would be October 26th. In July, my dad had just died. My last day would be October 26th, and that was my dad's birthday. So I knew it was meant that I should definitely be okay, that this was all going to be okay. So I smiled, I circled the date, and I told her, I said, hey, okay, that'll be great. And I closed the notebook, and she said, you don't have any questions? I said, no. I said, that's fine. I have my finish date. Just let me know what all you need me to do, and I'll be ready. And so she did. So long story short is that I didn't open my mouth about momentum. So I went to Momentum, started the retreat in September, and it changed the trajectory of my life, of my career, my inner being, my confidence. I got a connectivity with women and just a foundation that just changed my life forever. And so where I am will forever go back to how God positioned what would have been a most traumatic moment of being laid off was truly a lift off. Ooh, a laid off for a lift off.
I love that.
For an exploration in life that I could never imagine. And when I tell you the lift off has been amazing. And so to April, to all of you, to Andrew McCaskey, Susan Hodgkins, Momentum was truly the blessing from God, and I am forever grateful.
Wow, between the two of you, I'm already pumped and ready for the day. Thank you. I love that. I wrote that down, laid off for a lift off. A
Hey,
lot of
baby.
times, a lot of times we have to, you have a feeling this isn't where I'm supposed to be. What do I do? What do I do? And then I know that God, and that's just me personally, sometimes kicks you out of the nest and says, okay, you were too scared to do it on your own. I'm going to help you here. How does, from what you two have just talked about and the transitions you've gone in your life, tell me where you used your emotional intelligence before you even knew what that, to term it that way, to put it into that, articulate it that way. How did you know at those moments to lean into who you really are and to do it while you were scared, to push past your fear and to do those things because you knew I am more powerful than this moment of fear? Kristen, how did you do with that?
Well, I will say I let probably step forward with fear, probably every single day. I mean, everything I do, again, I'm a psychologist, and I expected my whole career to follow that path, that thing that my family reminds me I went to school for. And so I'm doing something different. I pivoted mid-career, like after 14 years in a career and working in one workspace that's very familiar with you, very comfortable, and then to completely pivot and decide, okay, I'm going to pursue something that's very different, that has more risk involved. That really created a lot of fear, but I've done it anyway, and I'm continuing to pivot and seek new new opportunities and trying to figure out what is the right thing for me, what is the right space for me. I am someone, speaking of emotional intelligence, there one of the things that I like about emotional intelligence and why I like to use it a lot in my work is because it's not an either or thing. It's not something where you either have it or you don't. Um, there's a continuum, and there are different aspects of emotional intelligence. I'm an empath. I'm a feeler. And
Mm.
Kathy is a feeler as well, and so we are very in tune with our emotions. And so there's ups and downs to that, right? And so what I know, I'm very aware of what I feel all the time, right? However, what I've had to step into is that reality testing part. So not only can I lead with my emotion, right? Because that's just part of the information. Emotions give us important information, but I also have to consider, okay, what are the facts? What are the facts of the situation? And so what I have to do is it's like a balancing for myself. Even though I may try something different that feels unfamiliar, I feel that, right? I feel that fear. I feel that trepidation, but I have to balance that with, well, what's the information? Who can I get to what else is true, right? Who can I get to help me? And Kathy, you spoke so beautifully about all the people that have made such a difference in your life. And I probably can name just as many people who've been instrumental to my life. But I think it's important really for me, it's been important to consider that balance and that perspective. Yes, I feel afraid, but what else is true?
Yeah.
Who are the people who are my helpers that have shown up and that will continue to show up through my life, right? What additional information do I need to know to be successful? And so I think it's really about taking in different perspectives and acknowledging that different things can be true. And emotions are going to continue to be an important part of how we interact. But what else can we bring to the table in addition to those emotions that are valuable and necessary?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's so true. And being an empath, I appreciate what you said because I'm also an empath, which is like you said, it's a double-edged sword.
Sure
It's great that
It
you
is.
have that emotion and you're in tune with what's going on, but then sometimes it can be overwhelming and learning to have the tools to deal with that because there can be all kinds of emotions going on in the room. You could be feeling the excitement, the fear, you could be feeling the all the things.
Yeah. And I have
Having
to
the
be careful and
tools,
not let it color. Like it's
exactly. So
color
understanding,
thing.
hey, I am an empath. I need to have tools to know. It's kind of like a superpower. You got to know how to use it, how to lean into it, and how to reel it in when you need to. How about you, Kathy?
I'm always scared. Um, I'm always
What do
scared.
you mean? You're always scared.
Well, every day I wake up. When you're an entrepreneur, you
Mhm.
don't know what's gonna come each day, right? You have, as a consultant, I have clients, I have contracts, but you are the accountant each day. You're the designer. You're the container for everything. You're going to take in. I know every day I'm going to take in something from people. I don't know what people are going to bring. I don't know how people wake up that particular day. And so the thing about it is I wake up, and part of that is that I wake up and operate. And I know that I'm afraid that sometimes, Lord, I may not get this thing right. And so I wake up knowing that I can't do this alone. So when I go back to my faith and I have to be able to say, Lord, I don't know what it is that's going to happen. This uncertainty, this uncommon, you think about the world and how it is today. People feel very free to say whatever they want, which is one reason why emotional intelligence is so important. It's very obvious we're emotionally ignorant because we don't have sensors anymore. We don't have emotional intelligence to manage. People say, post, write, speak, whatever they want without any cognizant mind sometimes of how it's going to affect other people. And emotional intelligence is really about understanding the impact of how this influences me, but also how this is going to influence others. What does it create? What does it cause? And so when you talk about fear, it is this mindfulness to me that says, I know that I don't know what I'm going to get, but how do I be prepared? And so that's where it comes in into faith. That's where it comes in into one of the biggest components of emotional intelligence, which is around self-awareness. is me being very grounded in who I am, in my values, being very self-aware, so that that fear is minimized. I think, Darla, that's my point, is saying I'm always got this fear of I may not get something right, something may mess up, something ain't gonna go perfect, of really trying to make sure I didn't miss something. But it's about the minimalization of the fear. It's like, is it at a max level, or have I minimized it as much as I can based on what I've done to develop me, that I have my values in place? But I've learned that fear is not a bad thing, because I can still have faith over it. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, even in my fear, still have the faith. People say it can't coexist, but the deal is that it's the faith that covers my fear. And that's what I'm thankful for. And that's what gives me a peace in it. It doesn't overwhelm me and overtake me. And I'll tell you one of the first things, just this quick story about where something I did in fear. And it was after I stopped the World Games, I didn't have a job, because that was a 3 year of being a consultant. So no insurance, no nothing. So thank God for my husband and his stability. But I remember someone approached me about a job immediately after. It was a good company. The CEO was sitting across from me. And he was like, hey, you did such a good job with them games. You know, hey, we have this role. Would you consider coming to work for us? And this is when I knew I was free, really free, like for real free, and emotionally grounded. I said to that CEO, I'm not in a good headspace. I said, I can't go in the walls of anything right now. I'm carrying something that I can't put in a box, and I can't put and try to fit. I can't do that. And that's when I really knew it was afraid, because I saying no to something that big 3 years ago, it would have made me feel like, what am I doing? But in this particular case, emotionally, I was grounded, even though it was scary to be able to say it, but yet there was still this emotional groundedness and knowing it was the right thing to say. So that was something I did, scared, but still did it and was okay, knowing emotionally it was the best thing for me.
And Kathy, I would say, use your emotions to help you make an important decision.
Yes.
Right? You didn't ignore
point.
it,
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's about using your emotions intelligently to help inform decision making. And that was the decision you needed to make. But if you hadn't listened to your emotions, you might have made a bad decision.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what, Kristen? So that was the aha this morning. Like, I was thinking about this I guess this virtual learning experience, and I'm just thinking like, okay, what do I really need to convey? And that was the big aha for me. Is this like, because Darla, when you sent the question about, okay, why is it important in corporate America? That question really keeps
bed situated for when it gets
that's what was one of the questions that resonated with me. But the deal is, emotional intelligence is so vital to exactly what Kristen said. It's vital in your decision making. I mean, because how emotionally intelligent you are affects the decisions you make, and the decisions you make affect the residue of how you move, right? So it affects what you say to people. It affects how you look at folks. The decisions, I mean, it affects how you sit in a meeting, how you sit at the table. It affects even if you'll be effective at being silent, right? So that whole concept of the emotional intelligence influencing your decision making, that in turn influences how you move, that in turn affects other people, that then influences how they see you, and then impacts how they remember you. It's critical. And that was the one thing that stood out to me this morning when I was just really thinking about it. So Kristen, thank you for bringing that back. Thank you for saying that, because that really came back to my remembrance.
One thing that I was thinking about that both of you have mentioned to me before, and that I have found in my life is true. So let's go back to the very core before we get any of it started, even before the emotions. What are your values? and the importance of us individually knowing what are your core values, because that is a trigger when you're in a situation. Okay, I know these values, and I know when I'm in a situation that my emotions are out, they don't feel right because they're bumping up against a value that I have and it's not aligning. So, where have the two of you learned, number one, what are your core values and how you've learned to implement them when the emotions do kick in?
I want to start because I want to say something about Kristen. One of my core values is being able
Makes me so
to
happy.
compliment other people, and heavily being able to applaud other women. I ain't gonna lie. Let me just say it. It is a value for me. It is an embedded value for me to be able to applaud other women. I want to do it. I mean, I seek it out. I talk about them in presentations. I call their names. I recognize them in meetings. It is a critical value to me. Love to see Tanya Allen knocking it out the park. You follow what I'm saying? I'm just saying it's important. Kristen, watching her move through and do what she does at the organization where she is, and do it with such poise and excellence, and to watch her sit in a room with this gentle nonverbal communication on her space, and when she speaks and the listening skills that she executes, it's powerful when we are able to do that. And the deal is that those values help me be present. So Darla, that's the key. If you don't have your values and they're not grounded, it influences your inability to be fully present in places, and to allow you to show up with dignity, but also to allow you to show up in a way that leaves a legacy from being in that space. Our legacy is not just when we die. Legacy is in that room. It may be the last time people see you anyway. For that meeting, you may live 100 more days, but your legacy in that room may be ended. So your legacy needs to be redefined. It ain't just the end of your life. So when you start to make it smaller on your legacy, you start to see things differently. So that's the second one of my values. So again, I point out those two values of being able to really compliment and applaud other women, and being able to redefine legacy as it is in the space that I'm in. It helps you be able to be more present. So when those are very clear to you, it influences how you show up. But without them, it also influences how you can miss opportunities.
I would say there are many values, and thank you for that, Kathy. That was beautiful. I don't know how to respond to all of that you just said, which was very powerful. I know one of my values is community building, and so it is important in uplifting others and building up communities and communities of people. And the way that shows up, or I hope that shows up in how I show up and the work that I do, is it may sometimes mean saying no to working with people, groups of people, individuals or groups of people that may not align with those same values that I have. And, one of the reasons why I like to say yes to Momentum. So Darla, anytime you called, or Lindsay's called, or Andrea used to call, I would say yes to it, because I really believe in the work, and I believe in the mission. And so it's really important for me to be aligned with purpose-driven type of work that is making positive impacts on people. But sometimes that has meant saying no to things too that don't align with those values, because at the end of the day, I need to feel good about my contributions And I don't want to harm people that I care about. Right. And sometimes it does mean saying a hard thing, a hard truth, and finding my voice and speaking out and using that, which is a part of an emotional intelligence too. It's that self-expression, learning to use your voice in a wise and a truthful way. So that, that's definitely something that I value and plan to continue to live out every single day. It's a work in progress, I will say. I've been a little disappointed, Kathy and Darla, by the age I've reached and how much learning there's still to do. And
Absolutely.
there still is.
And
It never
sometimes-
ends.
Every day.
Yeah.
Never
And then
ends.
still sometimes, that's the other thing too. I think we have to know that our values can expand. We have this that it's nothing wrong with having several values. It's just you don't have to limit them. Sometimes there are some people that do good with 3. There are some people that do good with 10. Your value system is yours. It doesn't have to be measured by everybody else's standards, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it is whatever matters to you that allows you to drive good decision making, to help you stay emotionally centered and emotionally intelligent, so that you know that you are moving from a space of good self-management or self-regulation. And if you can manage you well and recognize your emotions well from those values helping you, then what happens is other people can't trigger you. But if you ain't managing you well, that means that what's going to happen is when you go into a meeting, because this is the funniest thing to me, this is how you almost know when people really are not emotionally intelligent. When someone in a meeting says something they don't like and they start pushing their chair back before they go, and it's like, and then they start picking up and I'm just going, well, or they lift up their eyebrows, even if they don't do anything. But if you're a student observing the body language, because even emotional intelligence is knowing not just what I say, but how do I become emotionally intelligent even with my nonverbal? Because your body speaks, right?
It does.
Your body
Absolutely.
speaks before your
Louder
mouth
than-
opens,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so it's important to really recognize, that. So your values, whatever it is going to keep you grounded emotionally, mentally, physically, and mouthfully, and even in them emails. Oh, that was the other thing. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, it was the emails. It's about emotional intelligence in your emails. That was the other thing I almost forgot. Yeah, but we need to understand that emotional intelligence has transferred to writing skills, big time. So even being more emotionally intelligent now is critical because we write a lot. And ChatGPT, they get stuff grammatically right, but they ain't emotionally correct.
The tone can be completely
You
off.
hear me? It can.
Yeah,
If folks
very
be like,
off.
I know they wrote this in ChatGPT.
Right.
So I want to share something that's in the chat over here too. It's necessary to protect our morals. Just because it's good doesn't mean that we should do it. And then sometimes we're in a space to be the influence for improvement or to learn how not to be. I think that goes back to what you were saying, Kathy, that where you're going to be in a space where it's going to be high emotions. And you've got somebody that's driving those high emotions, because some people enjoy that. They feed off of it. So you can either allow your emotions to get caught up in that or step above it, knowing your core values, knowing what you want to be able to, like you said, that legacy. When I leave this room, when I leave this conversation, what did I contribute? What did I allow myself to absorb? What did I learn? And how can I be the one that can continue a calming effect even after everything?
Absolutely.
That's got to come from you understanding where your emotions are. That has got to come from you being able to say, like y'all, both of you have already mentioned, I'm in this space because I deserve to be in this space. And I feel like everybody here needs to hear that. You are where you're supposed to be, and you bring a lot to the table. And I think we forget that, and we allow others to, we either get intimidated or we get competitive, or we
Mhm.
feel like we've been undervalued, which affects every area. So then when we do have an opportunity to come to a situation like that, and our values are being pushed up against the wall, so to speak,
Mhm.
how you hold on to that is going to be one of the skill sets to learn and to work on. Where did both of you learn your skill set of honing in how to handle your emotions and the value of emotional intelligence? I know for me, I love all of the personality assessments because it does help you be more aware of who you are from a different facet. Because all of them, if they're all done well, there's gonna be a consistency you'll see in all the different assessments. And I know y'all have already done a lot of that. But what I have learned from it is like I'm a DISC consultant, but when I also look at the Myers-Briggs and I look at the strength scope and the strengths finders, when we look at the different areas, I see a different facet of me and a different reason, the Enneagram. I do get to see a different level of it. So if you have already had, like, if anyone listening, if you've already had one personality assessment, put it in the chat, but don't be afraid to take a different one. Because while it may reemphasize some things, it's going to give you a different, deeper emotional awareness of who you are, what your strengths are, and honestly, what your blind spots can be. So I guess my question for the two of you right now is, going back to that, where do you get your skill sets from to learn to hone in? What are some resources we could share with everyone?
So I definitely I'm definitely a big fan of using the different tools. I think specifically with emotional intelligence, one of the tools that I use is it's called the EQI 2.0, and it's an emotional intelligence test assessment. And again, like we are saying, I think we're conveying it's not a matter of you either have it or you don't. It's just what are the levels. And so what I've learned is I'm continuing to learn more about myself. I've learned that again, like I said before, I'm very high in terms of my emotional self-awareness, but things like my reality testing, like my problem solving, I've had to develop those because if I'm frustrated, sometimes I may not be looking at all the facts. And so I've had to really learn to not like I don't think we're saying put the emotions aside, but not leading with just those emotions. And so learning how to navigate my emotions while still keeping, like Kathy was saying, working for yourself or even working as a consultant, as a coach, it's hard work. Going after day after day, presenting yourself and getting the work, going after and really we are the thing that we're selling, right? And so that takes a lot of persistent effort. And there's also a lot of rejection in the work too. Like there's probably more no's than yeses. Kathy may have more yeses than no's at this point, but for me, I'm still grinding, right? And so for me, I've just really had to learn how to gird myself and continue to push forward and not let the rejection harm me or discourage me, from keeping forward. But I think surrounding myself by encouragers like the two of you, are really important. And just having a good community is really important because we need each other, and I believe in the work that we're doing. And and sometimes we need to probably think about how we could do things collectively as well, so we don't feel as isolated.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have three things, and I'll save the deepest one last. One of the things of where I have really had to learn emotional control and emotional intelligence is simply being Black. That just is point blank. And being Black, I mean by I have had to be in most of the spaces in my career of being a minority in most of my career spaces, like at UPS, being able to be promoted. That was very rare that a lot of Black females were promoted, and it was a very arduous process. And they take you through a very arduous process. Their training program is absolutely phenomenal. That's where I really got a love of leadership, was through United Parcel Service, because they ensure your success as a leader. I love that organization, will forever love them, but they definitely embedded and invested in me as a leader and gave me a foundation I will forever be grateful for. But I was a minority there, and so therefore, just being in this, in being a a person of colored body being, it has been one I've had to, because my parents, from a cultural standpoint, they taught me from a grandparent, and even in the church, it was always know that you're going to be in spaces, you need to be quiet. And if you get there, you need to be grateful, but you don't need to be able to say things, because they'll ask you and get you out of there. So it was really this culture of being brought up about being compliant. And so being emotional control really originally came from this factor of knowing, of not being empowered, that I didn't have agency, and that if I was given access to spaces, I should be grateful that they saw me worthy, and that I had worked hard enough to get there. But to stay there, I needed to be able to manage how I feel and what I said in spaces. So that's the first thing of where I was taught emotional control and intelligence, is just through a cultural requirement. The second place where it began to shift was when I actually went through momentum and was in the space of really where women were focused on, and to really see, like through people like Barbara Royal, and Kathy Wright, and my mama, and through a lady y'all won't know, Rosie McCurdy, and through Miss Wilson, and through some other women that I was around, through Odessa Wolfuck, watching them from a distance, and then Priscilla Cooper, watching them and watch how they moved, and then to be in momentum and see and be empowered by Susan Hodgkinson. I realized that I did have agency and voice, even though I was a person of color in this body, that as a woman, I had voice. And that shifted me to become more emotional intelligent with empowerment, that I began to be able to speak, but I had agency. And because I was worthy, I now could simply control what I would say out of that. But where the real shift and complete, and even in marriage and all, it came in that too, but the one was losing my son, was where the real emotional control, because I could have just crashed everything around me, like just pissed, just angry every place, watching other people's sons grow and do, just the emotional frustration and triggers. It was the triggers, right? That was where triggers became very prevalent for me to understand that triggers and emotional control were so much, because the triggers, you don't see them coming. So that's where it really began to be very rooted with me about emotional intelligence, is really understanding my exact feelings. So that's when I started really looking at vernacular, and that happy one, just happy, right? Are you content? Are you joyful? Are you delighted? Are you just exuberant? That I understood that what Brene Brown and other psychologists, and I know Kristen knows this a whole lot more than me, but in her book of Atlas of Love, when she took and talked about all of the emotions that connect to certain situations, I began to expand my vernacular and stop just thinking of happy, sad, angry, and mad, and lumping everything under 5 emotions, and understand that there are thousands. And so by pausing and realizing, what emotion am I really having? I'm really having longing, like I long for my son to hold me. I'm really having this just distance, like I feel the emotion I'm having is emptiness. I feel empty without him being in the house. I am feeling just this void, right? Just learning that it's not just grief, but being able to name the emotion and expand my vernacular of it so that I could match it with what was causing it. So then I could know how to do it. Is this the emotion I need to go walking with? Is this the emotion I need to call my friend with? Is this the emotion that I can tell you that sometimes I pick up the phone I'll call Andrea. I've texted April and said, I don't need y'all to say nothing. Like I've texted her and said, don't say nothing. Tell me something good I did. Andrea, I'll call and say, hey, don't say a word. I just need to dump this right here, or my friend Tencia, Rodrina, who I'm like, hey, I'm just angry that I lost Parker, but this is what I'm feeling. So being able to match the emotion, that the name of what I'm feeling more precisely, to know how I need to address it. And then knowing that sometimes even with the cohort work I do, I know where I am, and it's that community that I'm in front of that helps me heal and move forward. So those are the things, those are the three. I'm sorry for taking up so much time, but I needed to understand that sometimes there is a growth level to the emotional intelligence, and certain components in your life help it to go a little bit deeper.
I had a response to that, if I may. So Kathy, I don't know if you remember this, but you, shortly after your son passed, you came and spoke to my Leadership Hoover class. And I don't know if you remember this, because this was like maybe after the pandemic, 2021. I don't know if it was 2020 or 2021, but during the pandemic, because we called ourselves the pandemic class. We were wearing masks in the class. And I didn't know you that well at that point, but I remember you showing up with such, I don't know, speaking of being grounded, I don't know how you were able to be so grounded, but you were strong and vulnerable at the same time. And I think that's a lot of what we're talking about, is how we can show up strong, confident, and vulnerable at the same time, and I like to refer to it as being a human leader, right? And so, you definitely exemplify that. The other thing that I was just thinking about as you were talking is, what would it be like for men to have these type of conversations? I think as women, we know how to talk about how we're feeling. And I would love to see more men have these type of honest and open conversations with each other. And I know we have some men on, hopefully they've chimed in. I think we have some men on. But I this is something that we all need more of, to have these level of conversations, for sure.
One thing that I had, someone last year, I cannot remember who it was, they sent me an app, and I'm going to share it right here because it does help with that. I think it's called How Are We Feeling? It's an app. Oh, here it is right here. How We Feel. It's an app. Download it, because what it does is it breaks down your emotions. High positive, high negative, low positive, low negative. And there's like 30 to 40 different emotions in each of those blocks.
Wow.
And it helps you to identify what frustrations you're feeling, what negativity, but also the good things that you're feeling, so you can articulate it and camp out on it a little bit more. And that has helped me. And someone in the momentum class last year shared it with me. And I have loved this app because it'll just pop up and it'll say, how are you feeling right now?
Wow.
And some days I'm like, I'm glad I got to tell you, because I don't need to tell anybody else.
Yeah.
And then there's other days I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you for all the emotions we have.
Yeah.
Because we have these emotions for a purpose and a reason.
Absolutely.
And just like an amazing horse is got all this power, if it's not harnessed, it's not really going to do us any good. But to know how to articulate it makes it more powerful and helps you to understand your values. I love what you said, Kathy, about the growth level, and how, as we, and I've heard both of you say this, as we are learning to practice and give ourselves some grace when we don't get it, Some days it's not going to land right. You're not always going to get things perfect. But if you're intentional of understanding what your values are and what those emotions are, how to connect them and how to articulate them, you're going to be a stronger person, which makes you a stronger leader.
Right.
And when you're that manager, that person that's sitting there and you're across the table and you're trying to help someone else manage their emotions of a situation that happened to them, when you are more grounded, they're going to feel that.
Mhm.
That's why they're going to come to you, because you're the calming agent. When they come to you with these problems and they want you to solve them, they want you to untangle them, knowing where you're at is going to help you do two things. Number one, it's going to help you know, okay, these are my limits. This is what I can help you with. I can help share this with you. I can listen, and I can be a good sounding person because I'm not emotionally invested in that.
Right.
But I can't absorb your emotion.
That's exactly right.
And I can also teach you how to not let some things be absorbed by you. Because I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in everybody else's emotions when we're like you said, Kathy, even as an entrepreneur, Kristen, as the psychologist sitting here, and you've got all these emotions coming at you, helping them to understand, have some boundaries, not just physical boundaries, which are important. Our emotional boundaries are vital. And every situation that you go through, let it be a learning point. You are going to rise above some of them. Some of them, they're going to knock you flat on your hiney. What are you going to do when you get up? You don't quit. You don't just stay there. Let yourself grow through the emotions that you're dealing with, as well as teaching other people how they can do that. It's easy to do it when you're an adult and you've got kids. But how many of you on here who have had kids, especially toddlers, they can dwindle you down to acting just like a 3-year-old, just like them sometimes. So applying that to sitting in the boardroom,
Yeah.
don't let them pull you down to their emotional level if they are acting like a 3-year-old. And kind of visual. I hope I gave y'all a good visual. because I've been around my little 3-year-old a lot the past 2 weeks, as we're waiting for the birth of our new one, which, by the way, she was born last night. I got to throw that in shamelessly. Yay. But being around him, I would be so patient up until a certain point. And y'all, I tell you, there was a couple of times when I thought, who's the 3-year-old here? Is it me or is it him? Because people will wear you down.
Yeah.
And I've been in those situations before, whether it was in a courtroom, whether it was in a boardroom, whether it was sitting there, even in a church setting, in a business meeting. And Kathy, like you said, you'll see people doing this and you'll be going, oh my gosh, reining it in and realizing what you're going to leave.
Yeah.
What are you leaving when you leave that room? What are people going to say about you? Not because you want them to think highly of you, but did you leave something positive behind?
Right.
On this emotional intelligence? That someone had asked, the name of the app is How We Feel. Learning about strength scopes, learning about the DISC, learning about the Enneagram, paying attention to those and diving deeper in, or those are some great resources. Kristen, what's another resource for people to come in and say, hey, I need to look this up and this can help me with my skills? I believe you also have a workshop coming up too, don't you? Of something that could help them be a good resource. And we'll put that in the chat too, everyone.
Perfect. Yeah, so there's I have some ongoing one-on-one coaching opportunities and team development opportunities related to this topic. But what I have coming up in April is a nonprofit training specifically for executive directors, development directors, and board leaders of nonprofits called Leading Through Uncertainty. And uncertain times like the ones we're in call for new leadership, new types of leadership. And so the leadership of our fathers and our grandfathers' leadership is styles are outdated. And And so what we really are leaning into is our things like that we're talking about, how to lead with emotional intelligence, and how not to just get it for ourselves, but create cultures where emotional intelligence is really a part of the culture, and is seen as so. And so it's a 2-day training in April, and I'd love to talk to anybody who may be interested. If either you work for a nonprofit or you're on a nonprofit board or looking to start a nonprofit, love to talk to anybody who may be interested in that. And emotional intelligence will be at the center of that training.
That's awesome. I love
Awesome.
that.
Thank you. How about you, Kathy? What would you suggest?
Well, I would suggest, for me, it's just really sort of ask yourself this question: is based on how you show up now emotionally, is this going to benefit you in this season, in this uncommon season? There is the book, The Atlas by Brene Brown. My biggest suggestion to everyone is, and I really mean this, expand your vernacular about emotions. That will grow you more than anything. If you really began to just look at the words that really describe happiness in more detail, the words that describe sadness, that describe fear and anger, if you expand your vocabulary around emotions, you'll be surprised at just how that begins to deepen your emotional intelligence, and how being specific about what the emotion is that you're feeling begins to change how you respond, because it allows you to really understand and be more aware of how the emotion is looking. And then that way, what you do is you really find out what emotions are really triggering you. And it also helps you expand and not think that happy has to look and feel the exact same way about everything. And so that would be my biggest advice to everybody, is to pick up a book, go to a chart. I don't care, just go on your internet, and then you'll see all of them with the highs, lows, fears, and just print it, and just read it every day for about 30 days. And then go back and really look at, because that's part of what I do in some of leadership development, because it's one of the techniques I teach them, is that you go and I just need you to print off the chart. And each day, just go back and kind of look and say, what experience of happiness or what emotion of happiness did I have today, right? So that you began to get and expand your vocabulary, so that you understand, again, that you're more than a container of 5 emotions of happy, sad, mad, fear, and angry, but that there are thousands of other words that you feel that describe how you feel and what you're expressing through, and what you've also been designed through.
I wish we had a whole nother hour. I know everybody does too. There's some great information in the chat. Thank you all for being engaging and letting us know what you're thinking of what's going on here today. Kathy and Kristen, thank you. I could get really emotional here thinking of all the times I've heard you speak in all different situations. Today has just been outstanding. The best way you can tell them thank you is to take the feedback QR code that we had at the beginning. Please let them know what you thought about today. Please just take a couple of minutes and do that before we have to sign off today. And let us all know how you enjoyed today. And if you want more conversations like this, we would appreciate it. To the 2 of you women, I'm grateful. You've poured into me. I have learned so much. I admire the both of you so deeply, and you have been outstanding leaders in so many communities. Thank you again for being here today. Thank every one of you. I want to thank our sponsors. I know we have a list of them, but I just want to thank you and every one of you who are attending from each of these organizations today. This space is because they've invested in us. So it's not just a, hey, you're on a chart. It's a thank you, deep thank you from Momentum Leaders and for everyone here. So we want to just express that to you. Our next virtual training is going to be the day after our conference. You don't want to miss it. That's going to be on March the 4th with Miss Peggy Lee Wright. And as we are finishing up today, my heart's full right now of listening to everything, not only that y'all have said, but reading a lot of these things in the chat. This is so cool. I love getting to do this. This is such a wonderful opportunity. Thank you again. And everyone stay safe and have a very, very wonderful day. And we will see y'all next month. Bye-bye.
Momentum's virtual trainings are made possible with the support of Protective Life, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama, and America's Thrift. Find the full list of sponsors as well as additional resources for women leaders on our website at momentumleaders.org. Thanks for taking the time to invest in you, and remember to like, subscribe, and share our channel. We love reading thoughts and comments, so you can leave those for us here too. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn by searching at Momentum Leaders.